Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I'm going to be talking about the one thing that I keep coming back to when doing my low-buy art supply, and it's the same thing I realized doing my no-buy. I'm using a Stology 365, and I'm going to be using a Tombow. This is the brown, it's 879, in case you want to look into that for purchasing purposes or just curiosity. Now, I have mentioned this when I was doing my no-buy art supply in one of my videos. I'm going to try and get this all on the page. We're going to see how well I do. Sometimes it's a little iffy. Once you figure out what I'm drawing, then we'll be good here. And maybe I'm killing this pen. I'm not sure. So, I've mentioned it in previous videos, but it's something I keep coming back to because it's something that I forget. I don't know why I keep forgetting like the significance of this, and I'm not sure if this is something that's just sort of me, if this is something that is such a huge factor for me, or just such a huge realization for me, or if this is something that like everybody else has come to terms with and I'm just late to the party. And that's that the surface, what I'm creating on, absolutely determines the mediums I prefer to use. And when you're buying something specific like watercolor paper or some sort of like scratchy surface for dry media, I forget what they call that paper. I'm having a no-brain day. Anyway, when you're buying special paper that's sort of niche or it's a colored substrate, like Strathmore Toned Tan or Toned Gray, or Hanamule's like Cappuccino book or whatever, it's very specific, and you kind of have an idea in mind of what you want to use and what you want to create and have for that. And that goes into, you know, wherever you store your paper, and then when that project comes up, that's the paper you use, and you already have everything sort of all laid out. In 2021, when I purchased so much stuff that I had to do a no-buy art supply for 2022, like I had to just reset my brain and how I look at art supplies and their contribution to my art and everyone else's art, and how I was viewing what was actually important. And at the time, it wasn't really so much the creation process as what my art supplies could do for me and what they look like. And that's just not... Boy, if you have misphonia and like scratchy noises bother you, I am so sorry. I didn't realize this pen was getting so dry. So, yeah, I just totally forgot where I was in my brain. But, here. Okay, so yeah, resetting my brain and making sure that I'm purchasing products that are best for general art, not specific niche art, or just only one medium looks best on the paper surface. Trying to figure all that out and just reset my brain to that was the whole point of my no-buy. And in forcing myself and not purchasing things and using what I had already purchased and had in my shelf, and some of it was older and some of it was newer, I really just realized that the paper sort of determines everything. I mean, I have matched art to the covers of sketchbooks, like make sure that, especially I used like an A6 that was blue, it was a Lecterm, and then all my illustrations of birds were blue. I can link that sketchbook tour. I really lean into the paper. So if the paper doesn't allow for watercolors, then I don't have that as an option. If the paper's really, really thin, then that determines, okay, I probably won't be using ink. It'll probably be more of a colored pencil situation. And when I set I knew I wanted to do a year-long challenge with one type of paper, I knew that was something that I wanted to try. I really wanted to just stretch my creative brain and try a new challenge. And in the back of my head, in my mind, I was like, it'll be okay. I have seen people use tons of different mediums on Astrology. This is not, I'm not talking negatively about this paper. It just is what it is. And this is my takeaway and my preferences. So I saw people do light watercolor washes, and I saw people use different mediums, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. It'll be perfect. I'll do all the things, all the different supplies I have. I'll make use of all of them. And what happens as I move forward, as I use this surface, is that I settle into sort of a routine where I get comfortable. And in getting comfortable and getting to know a product, I settle into the mediums, the supplies that look the best on the surface. And that is kind of how I start to get to know a paper and how I get comfortable with a paper. Like, I see its limitations, I see what looks the best, and I settle into that sort of routine and that idea, and I keep with that. So with this paper, I really prefer pen and ink. It's not to say I can't do colored pencil, because you can do colored pencil on this paper, and it's not to say you can't do watercolor, and it's not to say you can't do charcoal. I did charcoal, I've done pastel, I've sprayed them, I've put little I've cut up vellum bags to create a little protective sheet over the illustrations. But I keep coming back to pen and ink because it's so comfortable, and I think it looks the best and feels the best on this page, especially if sort of texture and if you're very sensitive to things that are like scratchy, like know yourself and know what you prefer when it comes to creating. Pen and ink glides really nicely on this thin page. And doing the same thing over and over and over every day, like I'm on day 300 and I've been counting the days with this paper because it's just easier. So I'm on day 354 of 365 of using this paper every day. And I get into a groove, and the groove is solely dependent on the paper and my preferences with the paper and what I think looks good and what I think performs the best and what feels the nicest. And some days I'm like not in a mood to push it. I'm just not in a challenging mood to push the page, to push the surface and try and something new. Some days I just want to settle and kind of turn my brain off and just doodle and have fun and just not think about a lot of stuff. So working monochromatically helps me do that. Having paper already laid out that I have a plan for the year helps me do that. It's how I can create every day. Like some days it's just not deep and I'm not challenging anything. I'm just drawing for the sake of drawing and having fun and trying stuff and exercising my creative muscles. But in doing so, I use the pattern of what I prefer becomes really obvious really quickly. Like I think I knew, I don't know, January, February that I preferred ink the most on this page already. And that's absolutely fine. It just became more of a challenge and more of a decided choice then to do something else. To then try and push it with charcoal, then try and push it with pastel and try and layer things and see how that works. It became very strategic. It became more decisions, more choices, more things to think about, more work. Other than just doing the drawing, it became more work. Watercolor is more work when you have to let it dry, when you're trying to worry about blending because this isn't cotton. Like it has some, I don't know what it is, but it's not cotton, so the blending's strange, and it's a different type of work, and you're going to not get quite the results you anticipated. And that becomes part of the creative process that you have to negotiate and make different choices with. And that's absolutely fine. That is the stuff that makes us better artists, is constantly trying all this stuff and pushing the envelope. But there are days where there's no envelope being pushed. And I'm in December now. I've been using this paper all year long, every single day. And it's a lot of pen and ink, like just a lot. And granted, I haven't used my Tombos in a really, really long time, especially for drawing. I typically use these for hand lettering practice because they're so budget. They come in a ton of colors, and it's just really nice for practicing loops and stuff. But so I'm using more of my pens than I typically do, which is sort of the concession to myself that I haven't done hardly any watercolors this year. I haven't done nearly the amount of charcoals I wanted to do this year. I just don't care for it on this paper. And the fact that the surface plays such a heavy key role in the things I create, even though I tell myself to not do that, even though I say, no, you need to do more watercolors anyway, the other part of my brain goes, no, you're not going to get the desired look, and you're going to spend an extra hour on it, and it's going to be frustrating. And let's not have a frustrating art day. Let's just have a really nice, relaxing one. Just grab what's comfortable. And so I keep coming back to how important the surface is for the art I create. And it's so important. It determines everything. It determines what my art looks like for the year. It determines the types of things I want to create. It sort of plays into how much creativity I have left over for coming up with unique ideas and the things I want to draw. Because if I'm constantly battling the page, trying to get a look, then I'm going to go with something simpler or something that I'm very comfortable drawing because I don't want another challenge on top of that challenge. Like if I'm worried about blending, I'm not going to then be like, okay, time to watercolor feet when I'm horrible at feet. I just am. I'm sorry. I just don't practice them enough. So, yep. The page is important. The surface is important. Every time I'm like, no, I'll push it. I'll try something new. It'll be fine. I can do all the things. I cannot make my brain do all the things every day. I just can't. And I just settle. I settle for what's comfortable. I settle for subject matter I really enjoy. I love animals of Africa. I always come back to them. They are comfort to me. They are my happy place. I love them. So I purchased that huge roll of Strathmore 500 series, the mixed media. It's 100% cotton. It's a little thinner than I like. But that paper, honestly, I feel comfortable watercoloring on it. I had the sketchbook, and I did colored pencil with a layer of watercolor on it for March of the Robots. That was last year. That's in the, I'll just link the sketchbook playlist if you want to look through some of my sketchbook tours and see some of the weird stuff I've done. That paper, hi baby, come on up, we're not ignoring you. She's having a tantrum here. I'm not playing with her and she's mad. So I feel comfortable doing some inks on there. Like there is no perfect, what I'm getting at is there's not going to be ever a perfect surface or a perfect page where I'm like, yes, this is the absolute last thing I'm ever going to want to buy. It solves all my problems. I want to do every medium on this page. Every medium feels comfortable. There's never going to be such a type of paper for me. And I know that. Am I on the lookout for that type of paper? That's sort of the thing I need to address. I'm not actively seeking the answer to all my problems. I'm not looking for that. Because if I was constantly looking for that, I would be looking at art supplies. And if I was looking at other art supplies, I'd be tempted more to purchase things. And I'm doing a low buy now and forever. So I'm not looking for a solution. If one should pop up, in some of my purchases at some point some year, then that would be awesome. If I never find it, that's okay too. This isn't like a bummer thing, or hey, buy this paper, don't buy this paper. It's just like an observation of how significant this is to me. Even when I tell my brain, no, we're gonna go like this with this plan of attack for the year, I still settle into other stuff. I still change my mind. I still do the same things. Like, my personality hasn't really changed. I like being comfortable with a surface that I'm creating on, and I like using the thing that looks the best, that I feel looks the best for it. Even if I really want to do more of one thing for the year, if I want to do more watercolors, it doesn't look the best on this paper. And so I just don't lean into it. And that's, this could be like a me thing. This could just be me, and you could just be like, dude, you're silly. Just get out your watercolors and get over it. But I really, when I'm creating and I'm going through the process and I'm doing something every single day, I really settle into a comfort. I settle into things I don't have to think about. I really try to relax into the illustration process. I'm trying to get a little bit of his body, and it's all foreshortened. And that's what this looks like. That's why when I go to do like a full sketchbook tour of these 2 sketchbooks for everything I've created for 2023, it's going to be really ink heavy, and it's going to be tons of different types of inks. That's why it's going to look like that. Despite me having goals or resolutions to do more charcoals, there just isn't going to be a ton. And despite me coming, like, I always had these ideas. Like, I see myself doing a thing, you know, sort of pre-planning for success in my mind. And my plan of attack and then the actual execution is so totally different. And that's an okay thing. Like, that's absolutely fine. That's not a problem. I'm not mad or anything. I just think that it's funny that in my brain, I was like, no, we're going to be able to do all the things on this page, and it's going to be awesome. And when the year is over, you're absolutely going to be super happy. And oh yeah, I like that that's weird. That you've tried all this stuff and everything looks great, and you've done all the mediums, and you've pushed the boundaries of this paper, and there's even amounts of everything, and you've hit all your resolutions. Like, okay, so that's what my brain goals were, right? Totally unattainable, not very realistic. And then the reality is like, I like ink. Ink looks good. What are we doing today? Yeah, more ink. What about tomorrow? Definitely ink. It feels nice. What about this? Oh, ink. Yep. So, when moving forward, do I want to fix that? I don't know if I want to fix that line. All right, I'll fix it. When moving forward, do I really want to analyze and sit on things? And just, so reading reviews, I do that more. Making a list of what I want to purchase months before I want to purchase it, and then having that list in my eyesight, and then going, is that really something I need, or is that just something I want? Is that something I'll use? Am I just leaning into a fad, or am I just refilling something that I ran out of? Like, really sitting on these things. And the other factor is, realistically, once I get that paper, that surface, can I create and feel comfortable with wet and dry medium on that page, on that surface? That has to be another question I ask myself when purchasing my biggest temptation. And my biggest temptation is surfaces, it's paper. It's limited edition, it's going out of business, sales, it's definitely all that stuff, the scarcity mentality. I definitely play into that. And so I have to add this question to my page of questions when purchasing. Hey, realistically, let's be honest with ourselves. Do we feel comfortable with dry media on this paper? Okay, we love dry media on this paper. Do we feel comfortable with wet media? It's like Midori paper. I absolutely love Midori paper. It's ivory, it's soft, and the pens and fine liners just glide across it like a dream. I don't do wet media on that paper. Never. Acrylic would be too heavy. Watercolor, no. No. That's a nope. So the Midori paper I have in my sketchbooks that's left, that's for planning and drawing with pencil and a little colored pencil, like loose sketches and stuff. So knowing the limitations and knowing how I prefer my paper is how I need to ask myself, because I honestly deluded myself into thinking when I purchased this and decided to do this plan of attack for the year, I'm going to be able to do all the mediums all the time and it's going to be awesome. No, I prefer ink. So those are the questions I want to come back to with my number one temptation. Now your number one temptation may be way different than mine. You may be like, dude, my number one temptation is, I don't know, convenience pans of watercolors. So then you have to ask yourself, one, is this convenience color something that's worth the time and energy to purchase? Because mixing takes too long and you always use this color. Is this something that's really the smartest choice? Sometimes convenience mixes aren't light fast, but you can make your own that is, and then have extra tubes so you get more for your money, and buying empty pans might be the way to go. Really have to think about these things, really sit on them. It's part of the no buy and the low buy is just sitting in your thoughts and your feelings and your ideas and reading as many reviews as you can absolutely everywhere to figure out not just the strengths of something, but the weaknesses. Look for, instead of like the 5-star reviews or the 1-star reviews, the sort of 3-star reviews are always my favorite, because you get like the realistic, like, I love this paper, I just wish this. That one little I just wish this is where the knowledge comes from, where the true information comes from that isn't super biased of, oh, I love it, it's the best, it's the greatest. That's not a helpful review. I love that you love it, and I'm glad that you love it. But I need more information than that, especially going forward. And if you are having trouble with a no buy or a low buy, start making lists, and however you choose to do that, whether that's written in like a bullet journal because you're tactile, or it's digital, it's on Pinterest, or you're screen capturing and keeping a folder on your phone, like however you choose to do that, and look at it every day. Look at the item you want to purchase every single day and don't purchase it. And I guarantee after a couple months, it's going to seem like old hat. It's not going to seem super exciting. It's not going to seem fresh and new. It's going to seem rather kind of boring and average because you've looked at it every single day and the newness has worn off. The whatever flash of it has worn off. And if you're looking at something that's so brand new there aren't reviews, do not buy it. Please don't buy it. No one knows how good or how bad that product is. I mean, if it's just like a different cover and you know the paper inside, I guess, you already know. But if it's a brand new something, wait till there are reviews. The reviews are super, super helpful. And make sure you look at the thing every day so it stops becoming so new and exciting. Because art supplies shouldn't be so amazingly new and exciting that becomes the key factor in doing art and loving art. The whole point of art is creating and trying new things and getting weird with it, stippling some weird clouds. That's the point of this, is just creating and doing something fun and having fun with it. I hope this video helps. I hope, like, hearing about my views and my mindset and my thoughts and opinions and the things I keep coming back to because of realizations that just keep reinforcing themselves. I hope that this sort of gives you ideas for notes for yourself. Take tons of notes when you're watching other people's videos and figure out glean the helpful portions that you can apply to your no buy and your low buy from what they're saying, and really, really sit on some of these products before you purchase them, and really, really think about realistically knowing your mind and knowing how you work and knowing like the idea of something and the reality of something. Like my fantasy self is always me in a park watercoloring and being outside and doing a thing. Dude, I don't like watercoloring outside in public. I don't like it because I am absolutely extroverted, and the second somebody comes up to me and says, "What are you watercoloring in? What are you doing?" I'm going to launch into a huge thing and tell them what I'm doing, and I'm immediately going to stop watercoloring. I'm immediately going to stop and talk to them and give them my undivided attention. And that takes the art I'm trying to get done. So knowing sort of some products that are fantasy products versus realistic ones for yourself, for what you're trying to do, for your goals, for your life, for your art, versus like the reality of the situation. Yes, it would be fun to have the limited edition XYZ and have one in every color. I can't possibly use that up in my lifetime though. So that's probably not the best use for my dollars. And I would rather buy something that I would use up. I hope this video helps. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.